So Gavin Newsom is being recalled, and that's really good news if you live in California, including for myself. I live in California. I live in specifically Santa Clarita area. This is really good news because we can get whatever we demand right now. And here's how we can do that. We can say, listen, Gavin Newsom, we have a recall vote coming up pretty soon. If you don't solve all of these problems by the time that we have that vote, we will vote to recall you. If you do solve our problems, we won't recall you. So we have leverage as voters in California by recalling Gavin Newsom. It's why 45% of the people that support the recall effort are not Republicans. They are not far-right wingers that the media want you to think that we are. The people who are supporting this recall effort are Californians. They're people that recognize that Gavin Newsom has control of the state, local government, the entire state government, every branch. But he's not solving our problems, which means that he's causing our problems, right? So if you have the power to solve our problems and you don't, then that means you are causing the problems. That means you are the problem. The whole point of going into politics is to solve problems, right? So let's watch this video from Politico to see how the mainstream media likes to shift the narrative. They like to manufacture consent. Take a look at this propaganda.
Along the golden shores of California, inviting beaches.
Sun rises every morning
and sets every night.
We're just like everyone else.
And we also have recalls. So here's 5 things you need to know about the Gavin Newsom recall.
See, do you see what they did there? Do you see what they did there? California is great. Everything's great about California. Shut up. There's no problems in California. The only problem that we have is that we're recalling Gavin Newsom. That's the only problem. Right? Everything else is all
along the golden shores of California,
beaches.
inviting beaches.
So great.
Sun rises every morning
Every morning.
Every night.
We're just like everyone else.
Look at that. Everyone's just having a good time. It's March 17th, 2021. Look at all those people with masks.
And we also have recalls.
And recalls, that's it. That's the end of the list. So, this is just the beginning. We're going to go through the whole thing.
So here's 5 things you need to know about the Gavin Newsom recall.
Get ready for propaganda.
This recall has gone national.
So it's gone national. What does that mean?
Republican players, big Republican players, are getting involved in this recall.
So just to clarify, big Republican players have already been in the recall effort. Republicans are the ones who started the recall effort. The reason that is because originally, when Gavin Newsom first got into office, the Republicans opposed him and the Democrats didn't, right? Gavin Newsom ran on Medi-Cal for all, so we're not going to disapprove of him on the first day, right? The people who are going to disapprove of Gavin Newsom are the Republicans. So they started the recall effort. But here's what happened. Over time, Gavin Newsom showed his true colors and showed that he's actually kind of a right-winger too. He's a Republican. He's no different than the Republicans that have run California in the past. And so we need to recall him. So the effort started with Republicans, but now 45% of the people behind the recall effort in California are not Republicans. On top of that, who cares who is behind the effort? Is the effort good or not? That's what matters. Who cares who's supporting it? If we agree with the people who are supporting it, then that's called unity. That's called unity. That means, hey, we disagree on a lot of shit, but this thing we really agree on, right? California is united. Keep in mind, California, we voted for Bernie Sanders. We didn't vote for Joe Biden. Keep that in mind. That's crucial. So just so that you understand, California politics, the people in California, I should say, the people in California, they're leftists. The people who are leaving to go to Texas, to go to Florida, they're the Republicans. They're going there because they're Republican states. And they're realizing right now that that was a bad choice. But keep in mind, California is a terrible place too. We have a homeless crisis. We have problems with giving food to starving people. We have problems with giving clean water. I mean, there are tons of problems. The fires, I just go down the list, right? They're all massive problems. Every single one of them. We can solve the problems right now. There are no excuses. These problems should have been solved day one, and because they weren't, slowly more and more non-Republicans agreed with the recall effort. And here's why we need a recall effort. Because if you get enough signatures, which you have now, they're still verifying the signatures, but the claim is that there are enough signatures, and Gavin Newsom has said publicly that he believes that there are enough signatures. That means there will be a vote. If you live in California, you will get a ballot that says, yes, I want to recall Gavin Newsom. No, I do not want to recall Gavin Newsom. You have authority. What's happening is you get leverage, right? That's a good thing. If you don't want to recall Gavin Newsom, great. Don't recall Gavin Newsom. But let's say you don't want to recall Gavin Newsom. You don't want to ask anything? You don't want to go up to Gavin Newsom and say, listen, I support you, but I want you to do X, Y, and Z first, and then I'll give you my support. You don't want to do that? You don't want to ask for anything? We can ask for whatever we want right now. California has massive leverage, and the media doesn't want you to know that, just so that you understand. So let's keep watching.
Newt Gingrich, Mike Huckabee, the Republican National Committee.
I agree with them. I disagree with them pretty much everywhere else, but I agree with them. I think Gavin Newsom should go. So we agree on that. Great. Newt Gingrich is saying good things in this context, in this specific context. By the way, there are no bad people. There are just bad ideas. Right? Who cares who the people are? That's if you're an actual utilitarian, then it's the ideas that you care about. You don't attack people, you attack ideas. You don't censor people, you censor content. Right? The people aren't the problem. That's where you find unity. Let's keep going.
They've all put in big bucks on this one. And there's a reason why. Look, with Trump out of the picture, not on Twitter, they need something to pump up their Republican base. And
that's why. Politico wants you to think that the reason why Gavin Newsom is being recalled is because a bunch of far right-wingers don't have anything else to do now that Trump is gone. That's the narrative that Politico wants you to believe. There's a reason why 149 people dislike this and only 97 like this, Politico. There's a big reason for that. And if you look at the comment section, let's
and
keep
their
going.
Donors, get them excited. And Gavin Newsom, a rising star in the Democratic Party.
Did you just hear her say that? Do you understand that we're voting to recall him? If he's a rising star, then that wouldn't happen, would it? Right? The effort in the beginning, the recall effort in the beginning was a bad recall effort, right? It was done in bad faith, right? Because Gavin Newsom didn't even have his job yet. So he had no opportunity to shine, but then he did. And then he had his opportunity and he didn't shine. And then a bunch of people noticed. As more and more people notice, we're going to want to recall him. Does that make sense? Okay. Glad we had that conversation. Let's keep going.
Has a target on his back. And aside from the Republicans, we're watching the Biden administration get into it.
POTUS clearly opposes any effort to recall Gavin Newsom. Clearly. So keep in mind, if you are a huge Joe Biden fan, which I don't know why you would be, considering he has literally done nothing different than the Donald Trump platform, he is a Republican, and that is very clear if you look at the policies that he passes relative to the policies that other countries pass, and for the things that he advocates for, or what should I say, the things he doesn't advocate for. He's an unpopular person right now. Joe Biden is incredibly unpopular. And so when Joe Biden says, I oppose the effort, you should really consider whether or not you should oppose the effort too. Because normally when Joe Biden says, oh, I want Neera Tanden, you should probably say, Neera Tanden's probably a bad person to put in the position. Anyways, let's keep going.
Major Democrats get into it, like Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders says we must all unite to oppose the recall in California. And he's saying that because he constantly bends his knee to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. He does nothing different than any other Democratic senator at this point. He has literally done zero things. Zero things. When he lost the primary, he didn't ask for anything when he endorsed Joe Biden. He just gratuitously endorsed Joe Biden out of the blue. Just, here you go. You can have it. I endorse you, and I'm not going to ask for anything. That's what happened. And that it's just amazing how you don't do that, especially knowing that Bernie Sanders is a socialist or whatever. He's a capitalist. This guy, what you're looking at right now, is basically Joe Biden in sheep's clothing, right? At least that's how he votes. And the moment he stops, I'll retract that statement.
A signal to those on the left, the progressives, who may not be with Newsom on everything, that they should stand behind him. Two,
they may not agree with Newsom on everything. Bernie Sanders and Gavin Newsom agree on everything. What do they disagree on? Now, you might say, well, they say this and that and the other, but it's not about what they say because they're politicians. It's about what they vote for. Do they block votes at all? Do they use leverage against the Democratic Party? No, they don't. Of course they don't. And so they're the same person. Just one of them is made to be the progressive star that Politico is trying to frame as the progressive star. But again, as you can see, Politico is clearly doing propaganda here. And so whenever propaganda says, you just kind of believe the opposite. You should probably believe the opposite. That's not a universal claim, but you should be heavily skeptical to consider Bernie Sanders to be different than Gavin Newsom. They're not.
how did he get into this position? It's the pandemic, stupid. It's
stupid. You fucking viewer, you 5,000 people, you dumb 5,000 stupid. That's what she said. She just called you stupid. She just called you stupid. It's the pandemic, stupid. Actually, it's not. Actually, the pandemic is a small part of it. There are plenty of other problems that California is facing right now, none of which Gavin Newsom has solved. So when you say it's the pandemic, stupid, what you're doing is you're insulting your audience with ad hominems gratuitously. That's a great way to get more subs. Somehow they have 85K and I only have 2K. Interesting, YouTube. Good algorithm. And number two, it's wrong. It's just a small part of the problem, right? Because you want to control the narrative. You want to manufacture consent and say, this is the problem. Look here. Don't look here. Look here. Stop looking at the homeless crisis. Look here. Stop looking at all the people that are starving. Look over here. Does that make sense? That's what Politico is trying to do here. There's a reason why you only have 5,000 views. This video is probably going to get more. I hope this video gets more views than this, because that would be unacceptable. That would be super unacceptable if YouTube decides that this video is better than my video. That would be crazy.
It's important to note that the petition, which was filed back in February of 2020, never mentioned the pandemic. It meant
that doesn't matter. So why are we judging this recall effort based on what the purpose of it was back in February of last year, when 45% of the people that support it are not Republicans, right? If we agree with recalling, see, the thing is, what we're voting for is a recall. We're not voting for Republicans supporting recall. We're voting for the recall. So who cares what the intention was initially? Who cares who was behind it? The policy itself is something that we support. You don't judge a policy or a vote based on who supports it. You can use that as a guide, but if you make that the sole thing you judge how you do things in life, that's
mentioned sort of classic conservative issues with Newsom. High taxes in California, illegal immigration. It went after Newsom on his progressive stances.
But the thing is, 45% of the people who are not Republicans supporting this recall effort are realizing that Gavin Newsom is not progressive either. So understand that the Republicans are attacking Gavin Newsom because he's progressive or whatever. He's a socialist. That's what they frame him as. But now the progressives are framing Gavin Newsom as not a progressive. So Gavin Newsom is opposed by Republicans and progressives now. So who cares who was initially behind this recall effort? considering now progressives support it. Again, the ends justify the means. The end result, Gavin Newsom being recalled or Gavin Newsom not being recalled, that end result is the only thing that we should be talking about right now, and whether or not which one we should be doing. Because we have the votes, California decided to vote on recalling Gavin Newsom. So let's start talking about what the pros and cons are. And unfortunately, that's not what's going on here. This is just propaganda. That's all it is.
The pandemic hit California, and Gavin Newsom took some of the most aggressive actions, shutting down California and its businesses before any other state.
So what she's doing is she's trying to frame Gavin Newsom as this hero, that he was the first person to listen to the science. But here's the problem. He then reopened California and then closed it back down again. On top of that, when he closed down California, he failed to give everyone a stimulus check, Medi-Cal for all, food. If you lock down your state, you need to somehow supply them with financial support to live in the places that they live in. And if you think we can't afford social programs in California, we had an excess of something like $15 billion in extra revenue that we generated. California is the 5th largest economy. In California, we could fund federal programs if we wanted to. We can fund U.S. federal programs if we wanted to. Of course, we're not going to. We have 40 million people, like a 10th, almost, I'd say an 8th or 9th of the population. Yet we have the ability to fund federal programs. So that means we should have the ability to fund some crazy, insane leftist policies. All of those people who say, but how are you going to pay for it? Are you kidding me? We're going to pay for it with all of our money that we have. All of this money that we have. We have all this money. Let's spend it on us. Well, what the fuck is wrong? Like, that argument doesn't work in California as easily as it does in the US, because California is the 5th largest economy in the world. Just so that everyone understands. Let's keep going.
But it also rankled Republicans here in California. But Newsom himself had some self-inflicted wounds.
So understand, this is where the narrative comes in. This is the central narrative that the mainstream media is taking on right now with Gavin Newsom. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pretend like this is the reason why you're mad. Now, everyone in California knows what I'm talking about, knows what this is. It's the dinner party that Gavin Newsom attended where he wasn't wearing a mask. Of course, that's a terrible thing. But it's just a straw on the camel's back. It's a slap in the face. It's punching down, okay? We're already down. You're punching down. So this is not the core problem. This is just a straw on the camel's back. But Politico wants you to think that this is the main problem because it was the last problem that resulted in everyone wanting to recall Gavin Newsom. When a straw breaks a camel's back, you probably shouldn't just focus on the straw, because it's probably not the straw that broke the camel's back. Straws don't break camels' backs by themselves. Does that make sense? Okay.
A dinner at the French Laundry, one of California's toniest and most expensive restaurants, at a time when Newsom was telling people to stay at home, not to go out, not to dine out. The optics were terrible.
The optics are terrible, right? Now, what they're about to show you is Gavin Newsom's apology. I highly recommend you actually look up this video and watch the video, because he doesn't actually give an apology. But what Politico does is they clip out just this portion. Just notice that this is a very small clip. This is a very small clip from the original video, and it's cut precisely where Politico wants it, so that you progressives out there, you leftists out there that want to watch this video are going to think, oh my goodness, he apologized, so it's okay now.
And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
No, actually, you shouldn't have gone to a restaurant, and you should have worn a mask the whole time. Right? So this is Gavin Newsom not even apologizing for the problem, but watch the video cut right here from Politico. Boom. That was it? That was the only part that you're going to show us? You're not going to show us the rest? Watch that video right now. Pause this video. Go watch that that apology. It's absolutely insane, and it's way worse than just that little clip. Let's keep going though.
Ratings have plummeted since then.
These are his poll numbers. Now, this graph is incredibly deceptive because it's mathematically incorrect. This is not how you draw a line graph. Okay? So for example, do you see this vertical bar right here? That doesn't make any sense. That means on this date, somewhere in December, Gavin Newsom's approval rating was 50% and 60% and everything in between, and maybe up to like 64% and down to 47%, but everything in between at the same time. That's not physically possible. That's not mathematically possible. This is not a graph. This is not a function, right? This breaks the vertical line test, if you want to reference your high school math. So this is not a graph of a thing, okay? So let me explain what it should look like. This is the first point, should connect the second point, right? And then it connects the third point, which connects the fourth point. But the fourth point isn't here, okay? That's not the fourth point. The fourth point is here. So there should be a diagonal here, clearly showing Gavin Newsom's approval rating plummeting over time from April through January. That's what you should be showing us. Now, notice these are flat here. That's because there were no more polls after that. It's not that this before and after were exactly the same on both of these. It's just they don't have more data. They stopped taking data, but Politico wants to just kind of continue the graph on to pretend like, it just kind of went horizontal and flat. That's not what happened. It just dropped. And look at this blue graph. It's just, as you can see, over time, his poll numbers are going down. So this event here, when Gavin Newsom was caught not wearing a mask at a fancy restaurant with people at the table, and I mean, everything was wrong. It wasn't just the fact that he wasn't standing or whatever. That's not, at the time, the rules were restaurants are closed, everything's closed, and you cannot meet with other people. Just flat out, you cannot meet with other people. You have to stay in your house. So there were no exceptions to that, but now that it's March in 2021, you probably forgot about that. You probably forgot about the fact that Gavin Newsom reopened the government before October, somewhere in April, which is what caused a lot of people to not like Gavin Newsom. So this graph is incredibly deceptive. I have a math YouTube channel, so if you want to debate me, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm really ready to show you why this graph is mathematically inconsistent. So of course Politico is going to do this to try to pretend as though Gavin Newsom's numbers plummeted right after this event. That's not what happened. That's not what these graphs should be saying, because that's not what the data suggests.
And as they've plummeted, the donations to the recall have risen.
This just looks to me as though, sorry, let me pull up the graph. This just looks like an exponential graph. And the thing about exponential graphs is that you can look at any different window and you'll basically see the same shape. Okay, so this is to suggest that this French Laundry incident is the thing that caused these donations to increase. Actually, I see them increasing a lot over here on the left too. And to tell you what I mean by exponential, notice how this little jump right here, that's basically doubling. That's like a 100% increase right there. So this right here is about as big as that right there, relatively speaking, right? This is exponential. So that's how they work. You have to work with growth factors. I mean, of course, Politico doesn't know anything about graphs. I mean, look at this.
Ratings have plummeted since then.
It's not a graph.
And as they've
That's how you draw graphs.
the donations.
And you did the same thing here too. What's this vertical line? That's not how it works. There are no vertical lines in graphs. Look at any stock graph and you show me a vertical line. There are no vertical lines. That's not a thing. You might say, oh, what about a bar graph? Yeah, that's a bar graph, not a line graph. This is not a bar graph, this is a line graph.
To the recall have risen. 3, expect a lot of candidates. Right now, it only takes $4,000 or about 7,000 signatures to get on the ballot. That's nothing when it comes to GoFundMe or social media.
Good. That means it's easy to run for office. And by the way, getting 7,000 signatures is not easy. That is not easy whatsoever. So this lady is just trying to make it seem as though we're just going to get a bunch of nobodies running for office. And look what she does here.
I expect you could have hundreds of people signing up to run for governor of California just for publicity purposes.
Just for publicity purposes. That's why they're running. That's why all those third parties that are going to be running, they're just doing it for publicity purposes. So remember that. Remember that the narrative that was just made here is that third party candidates, they run for publicity purposes, right? And you don't want to elect people who run for publicity purposes. So don't talk about third party candidates. Now that Politico has said that, Politico is going to spend the rest of the video advertising for candidates that are extreme, on the extreme spectrum. And just keep in mind, California voted for Bernie Sanders, not Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. We're full of leftists. We're not like Texas. We're not like Florida. We're California.
In the 2003 recall against Gray Davis, California saw 135 candidates. Of course, the most famous was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And the reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger won was because mainstream media outlets like Politico would popularize these celebrities, would just show these celebrities. It's why Donald Trump won. And so you're just going to do the same thing. Watch, they're going to do it. They're going to do it in this video. They're going to say the reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger won was because of publicity. And then they're going to do the exact same thing that got Arnold Schwarzenegger elected in the first place, which is the problem that she's referencing right now.
And this is sort of the drama when it comes to this recall. Will there be some actor who wants to make their name running for governor?
Actor? Why? No, we're not gonna focus on actors. We're gonna focus on people with good ideas. Okay? We're not gonna be looking at actors unless those actors have good ideas. Because the thing that we judge a politician or future potential politician on is what they're running on, their policy platform, not their career or their hobbies or talents or skills or whatever. Who cares? What is their policy platform? That's what we should be judging these candidates on.
California, and we'll get on that ballot. There could be some Trump insiders who are...
Trump insiders? Really? The state that voted for Bernie Sanders is going to all of a sudden just say, oh yeah, no, we're not socialists. We're actually fascists. I forgot. I totally forgot. We voted for Bernie Sanders, but then we just all became fascists and decided, let's try a Republican one more time. No. No. We're not voting for Republicans anymore. They're gone. They're gone. Okay? All of the Republicans fled in our branches of government, in our state government. We don't have Republicans threatening anything. Republicans have zero power. Okay, so who cares about Republicans? Because they're not going to win. They're not going to win because that's not where California is. California is way the heck on the other side of the... Yeah, you know this. You all know this.
We're already aiming for that ballot. Richard Grinnell, who was
Oh, a celebrity. Look at this. We're just going to throw a name drop. But those third-party candidates, they're just doing it for publicity. You're giving people publicity while blaming third-party candidates for seeking publicity. Interesting.
Acting Director of National Intelligence has already hinted, and if so, he could raise a lot of Republican money.
And he's not going to win because we are not a Republican state. We are everything but that. And Politico knows this. You all know this. This is just, it's like, I don't understand how you could say this and think that you can get away with saying something like that. Like you can get away with saying this guy has a chance. He has zero chance of winning in California. That's not where California is, right? It's just, this is crazy. This is crazy. Let's keep going.
I think the biggest drama may be, will there be any Democrats on that ballot?
Will there be any Democrats? How about, will there be any third parties now that we've realized that the Republican parties and the Democratic Party, they're not doing anything. They're not solving our problems. So those third-party candidates, they're doing it for publicity stunts. But what about those Democrat celebrities? Let me ask you a question, Politico. Why would we vote for a Democrat after recalling a Democrat? The leader of the California Democrat Party. Why would we vote for a Democrat? Why would we just replace him with the same person? Why would you think we would do that? It's as though you think we would like replace Gavin Newsom with someone like Kamala Harris or something like that. No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't vote for a figure like that. We would not vote for a figure like that. The last person who was elected into federal office from California was chosen by Gavin Newsom. Not the people, Gavin Newsom. That choice pissed off a lot of Californians, including myself, because look who they're choosing. Look who the Democrats are choosing to run. They're all bad because the party is bad, because the party is a corrupt party from top to bottom. Okay? It doesn't stop at the federal level. It keeps going through the state, local, everything. Everything. All corrupt. Every single part of it. So, third-party candidates. Maybe we should focus on those. Nope, we're not going to talk about those. We're going to only talk about Republicans. We're only going to give publicity to Republicans and Democrats. Politico is controlling the narrative.
Do Democrats feel they need to at least offer an alternative if voters are faced with a recall? 4, it's easier to recall a governor in California.
Good. That means that voters in California can have leverage like that. We want leverage. We want to be able to put politicians' feet to the fire the moment they don't follow through with their promises. We don't want to wait 4 years. We want to be able to immediately respond to failure. And here's the thing. It's not easy to recall a governor in California. It's easier than other states, but it's still not easy. It's still pretty fucking hard, especially with a pandemic going. Especially with a pandemic. People aren't outside walking around. You can't just go around and get petitions signed like you used to. That doesn't work anymore. You have to knock on people's doors. So it's really hard to get a recall going. And that was by design, by the way. Maybe that's why Gavin Newsom locked you down. At least the second time, considering, again, he locked us down, reopened up the government again, which caused COVID infections to increase, and then he closed it again. He did that. He didn't follow the science. He went against the science. He's trying to open up the schools. What, you think kids can't infect other kids? You think that you can separate and social distance kids in a school? Please. Anyone who thinks that we should open up the schools thinks that we should just spread COVID-19 to everyone. That's what they believe. And they think that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? I'll be fine. Right? And that's not the science. That's my point. That's hypocritical. That's not following the science. So whether or not you believe in that, whether or not you agree with that, you should still accept that Gavin Newsom is hypocritical. He's hypocritical here. Let's keep going.
California has the lowest standards of any state in the country to recall a governor. This is something Andrew Cuomo in New York doesn't have to worry about.
Sucks to be in New York where you have a governor who's being accused of sexually assaulting, groping women a year ago. While in office, a year ago. And he's still in office. He's in office. If he was in California, he'd be gone. We would have this recall effort done. That's it. Okay, we're done. We're done here. He's gone. We would have none of that. But all those people, everyone who lives in New York, let me just talk to you for a second. You're just going to take it? You're just going to take it like that? I mean, like in California, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves leverage. We're allowing ourselves to say, listen, Gavin, you either give us what we demand or you're gone, right? You're fucking gone, right? We have that ability. New York doesn't. Wouldn't it be nice to have that ability, though? Wouldn't it be nice to have a better government in New York? Yeah. Don't you all wish you were in California? Even though, again, California sucks. We have a lot of problems. But relatively speaking, we have a decent framework to solve them. Our framework looks a little bit easier than in Florida. If you want to be a progressive in Florida and you want to try to enforce progressive policies and you want to protest and anything, you're done. You're not going to get anything in. You're just going to get laughed at.
He can't be recalled. But in California, It takes only 12% of the turnout of the last election.
So like a lot of people. There's 40 million people in California. So that's like an eighth. So you still need millions of signatures. And guess what? We have millions of signatures. So he's going to get recalled maybe. Or there's going to be a vote. Cool. By the way, this isn't to recall Gavin Newsom. That is not true. This is what you need to put Gavin Newsom up for a recall vote. There is a huge, massive difference between a recall and a recall election. With recall elections, you have leverage as a Californian. That means you get to go to the person who's potentially could get fired, right? Their job is literally on the line. Gavin Newsom's job is on the line right now. And if he wants to be successful, he needs to bend his knee to you. Not his donors, you. Don't you like that? That sounds like a really good system. This number to me seems too high. I'd like to make that vote every fucking day with all of my politicians if I could. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic because then we could just solve our problems in like 3 days. We just get the people out of there that aren't doing the things that they need to do. And by the way, these problems, if you think that, they take hundreds of days to solve, they're massive problems, there's tons of, get out of here. We have the solutions. They're already there. They just need to be passed. Okay? We're done here.
To start a recall movement. And we've seen 2 of them here within the last 2 decades.
That's a good thing. So Scott Walker didn't solve our problems. He had 8 years to solve our problems and he didn't solve them. And so who did we vote for? We voted for Gavin Newsom. We voted for Bernie Sanders. That's who we voted for. That's where California is today. California was here in 1921. Now they're here, 2021. They're recalling Gavin Newsom. They're recalling Gavin Newsom because, not the pandemic, stupid, the economy, the social structure that he has set up, the isolationist philosophy that he's imposing in our lives. Maybe that's what we're fighting up against. Maybe we want to unite as Californians under policies that we all agree on, which there are plenty, and let's put someone in office who will actually pass those policies, and let's hold Gavin Newsom's feet to fire. Let's have him pass the policies today. Let's not wait for the next person to get elected and then have him or her solve the problem. Maybe, instead, we demand from Gavin Newsom that he solves our problems right now, or we recall him. We make a demand today. We don't wait. We make a demand today. So, fix our housing crisis. Give everyone a right to housing. Give everyone a right to food. Give everyone a right to public transportation. I mean, you can go down the list. There are plenty of things that we can ask for. Let's ask for every single freaking one of them. Every single one. Medi-Cal for all. UBI. Oh, but how are you going to pay for it? With all of the money that we have. That's how we're going to pay for it, because we have tons of money. We're not going to just store it in Bitcoin or something, right? We're going to spend it on Californians. We pay a lot of state taxes. And yeah, Californians hate that. But we could use that money towards us and not just like wasting it on private companies, Silicon Valley, giving it to your donors somehow. What they're doing is they're funneling money in a capitalist system. That's what Democrats do. They're capitalists. But California voted for a democratic socialist. Just so that everyone knows. Let's keep going.
A lot of political experts say, why is it so easy to oust a governor here? Look,
political experts say, what she just said is, political experts say, why is it so easy to get a recall? Experts answer questions. That's what you use experts for, to answer questions. You don't take questions that experts are asking, which, by the way, experts know the answer to that basic question. They're not asking it. They're not dumb, right? They're experts. That's the whole point of them being an expert, is because they know the answers to these basic questions. Okay, so let's hear that. Let's hear that one more time.
a lot of political experts say, why is it so easy to oust a governor here. Look, California is the 5th largest economy.
Good. So then we can fund programs that, by the way, 5th largest economy in the world. And so we should be able to fund programs that other countries can fund. So for all of you who think, how are we going to afford UBI? How are we going to afford Medi-Cal for all? Because we tax more than our federal government does. We make more money in California than other states do. That's why we have high taxes. And so we have high taxes. We have high revenue in taxes. We can fund programs, but we don't. And that's why we want to recall Gavin Newsom.
It's home to 40 million people, 1 in 8 voters in the United States. And yet it's easier to recall a governor here than any place else in the country.
Good. That's called a democracy. Why do you want to make it hard to put a recall vote on a ballot? Why do you want to make that hard? Because you don't like democracy, Politico. That's why.
5. Newsom will probably win, but it's going to be a crazy ride.
Newsom will probably win. That's quite a claim that you have not backed up yet at all whatsoever. But it's going to be a crazy ride. Now, if this claim better have some evidence, and I hope that everything that this person is about to say is a defense for this claim. So this is the claim. Get ready for the argument, which is apparently a defense of this. Get ready.
One big advantage for Gavin Newsom is that California is a solidly blue state.
Except we didn't vote for Joe Biden. Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden are the same political figures. There is nothing different. They don't disagree on anything. Him, AOC, Bernie Sanders, they don't disagree on anything because they vote for the same things. They don't disagree in terms of their voting record. They don't disagree whatsoever. They agree on everything. So, who did we vote for again in the primary? Which candidate did we vote for them? We voted for the furthest left candidate. Oh, it's left on, yeah. We voted for the furthest left candidate. So that means that we're at least as left as Bernie Sanders. At least. We didn't have an opportunity to go further left in the Democratic Party because we only had 2 options, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Or maybe there's some others, I don't remember. But in California, it was basically Joe Biden versus Bernie Sanders at the time of the election. And we picked Bernie Sanders. We didn't pick Joe Biden. We didn't do what all the other states did. We're not like the other states. Wow, so how does this defend the claim that's being made here?
Newsom will probably win, but it's going to be a crazy ride.
Why is he going to win? Why is he going to win?
One big advantage for Gavin Newsom is that California is a solidly blue state.
That's not a reason why he's going to win, because we're recalling him, right? Times change. As you can see from the timeline that we saw earlier, times change. We voted for Bernie Sanders. Times change. We're leftists now. California is primarily full of leftists. That's what California is full of. Okay? Just so that, okay.
And they have more than a 20-point lead in vote.
2020 had. This is not the same thing, because keep in mind, originally Californians supported Gavin Newsom because he ran on Medi-Cal for all, and he had full authority to get whatever policy he wanted passed. And then he did nothing. And over time, more and more Democrats supported the recall effort, and now there's a recall going on. There's a recall vote going on. So this graph is quite literally out of date.
Voter registration in California. So what we're going to be watching is some of the big national players.
Big national players. Why are we watching big national players? How about we watch the candidates that are running for office? All of them, including the Republican ones, the Democrat ones, the third parties. Who's most popular? Why is Gavin Newsom being recalled? Maybe you should ask these questions and then answer them in this video. And so then we're going to make claims like this.
5. Newsom will probably win, but it's going to be a crazy ride.
But the only thing that we're going to say to support this is, we're a blue state. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to say we're a blue state. We're not going to talk about what part of the blue we are, but we're just going to say we're a blue state. The mainstream media is really good at doing their job at throwing third parties under the bus. And on top of that, the California is not set up yet to allow third parties to succeed. But we're smart enough to notice that Democrats and Republicans are not solving our problems, even if they have control of the government completely. We've tried both parties having complete control over everything. And so now we need to realize, and we do realize, that we need to put someone else, someone completely outside of the Democrat and Republican Party, a third party. So it's going to be a crazy ride because the people who are going to be up against Gavin Newsom, they're not Democrats, they're not Republicans, they're going to be Californians, leftists. Average people who don't need lots of money to get in. That's who's going to be running for office. I like how her hands are in her pockets. Do you feel insecure about the message that you're saying right now? And this weird, kind of makes it seem like you're a little insecure about the things that you're saying.
Is some of the big national players who could have a stake in this game. Look, Kamala Harris, the vice president, has...
What? Are you serious? Kamala Harris? Why? Why? Because we elected her as a senator? Because we have this corrupt system. But you have to understand, we're recalling Gavin Newsom now. We're not electing him again. We're recalling him. We're realizing what's wrong with the Democratic Party, and so we're moving on now. Catch up, Politico. Keep up.
Been a political contender in California for years and also a competitor of Gavin Newsom.
And now she's gone. And she's a competitor to Gavin Newsom. How so? How so? They agree on everything. They agree on everything. They're the same person. So why would we elect the same person in office if we don't like Gavin Newsom? What makes Kamala Harris different than Gavin Newsom? See, when you're looking at replacing Gavin Newsom with someone, you have to first accept the premise that he is being replaced, which means you have to accept the premise that the people don't like Gavin Newsom, which means that if you have someone else, you have to ask the question, what makes them different that would cause people to vote for that person and not Gavin Newsom? What makes that person better than Gavin Newsom? Kamala Harris is the same person. We're not going to vote the same person in office.
Another figure is Kimberly Guilfoyle.
How the heck is she a figure? She's not a figure in California. I don't know where this is. This is completely unfounded. She has no recognition in California. She is not popular whatsoever. So Politico mentioning this name is their way of controlling the narrative or giving people publicity. The thing that they accused third-party candidates of doing. They're doing it to Republicans. They're not even doing it to third parties. They're giving publicity to this?
Who was married to Newsom when he was mayor of San Francisco.
Why would we vote for someone who's similar to Gavin Newsom if the premise of this whole hypothetical is that we recalled Gavin Newsom? Why would we say, yeah, okay, we got rid of Gavin Newsom. We got rid of him. Now, who do we want to put up? Let's put up the same person. What the who does that? No one does that. That's not what we're going to do. And who thinks that way?
Will Don Jr. have a...
Are you kidding me? We're just going through names, giving publicity to people who don't matter in California. This is just far-right propaganda. This is worse than Fox News. This is worse than MSNBC. This is next level stuff. This is really far-right stuff right here.
A role in this. Her boyfriend, will Donald Trump, have a role in the recall?
Who cares if he's not running? Then who cares if he's involved or not? I don't care. The question isn't when I get a ballot, okay? You have to understand something, Politico. When I get a ballot in the mail that says, do you want to recall Gavin Newsom? Yes or no? I am not going to think to myself, well, who supports the recall? Is it Donald Trump? Because if it's Donald Trump, I definitely want to pick the exact opposite answer of that. That's not how I think. If you think like that, then you're probably not in California. Okay, that's not how we think in California. So in California, what we think is, when we see that vote, when we see that ballot, we say, well, is Gavin Newsom solving our problems? No. Or, I mean, on the recall, you would put yes. But the point is, you think about Gavin Newsom, you don't think about Donald Trump. You don't think about, you don't think about Don Jr. You don't think about, who supports this? Well, if they support that, then I guess I can't. Because then you're going to run into a problem where you're going to have people who you disagree with voting on both sides of an issue, in which case you have to disagree with both somehow, which is logically impossible. So, therefore, this whole argument is illogical. It's invalid. It's completely invalid.
All of this is part of the drama we're looking forward to in the coming year.
Drama. Are you guys all excited? We're gonna put forth all of these candidates, but we're only gonna put forth the candidates that we want to put forth. Isn't that great? So here's the thing, lady. He's getting recalled. Suck it up. Get over it. Move on. The ballot is going to be sent out to every person in California, and they will decide whether or not Gavin Newsom is going to continue being our governor, or if we're going to vote him out and elect someone else. So this whole thing about the recall, is it going to happen or not? It's going to happen. Well, the vote's going to happen, and it's whether or not people agree with Gavin Newsom. And right now, he has less than 50% popularity, according to all your graphs. So he's unpopular. A majority of people in California probably want to recall him. If you disapprove of Gavin Newsom, you have to ask, why do you disapprove of Gavin Newsom? It's probably because you don't support something that he's doing right now. And the thing is, he's doing the same thing throughout his entire career. And so we're getting more and more frustrated as we see Gavin Newsom do nothing to solve any of the problems. That's what's happening. We're just getting frustrated right now that Gavin Newsom is not solving any of our problems. And so we're going to hold his feet to the fire. We want that leverage as a people in California. We want that leverage. So give it to us. And then now that we have it, which we do, they're still verifying the signatures, but they have until April. They have a week left. And then after that, then it's potentially adios, Gavin Newsom. And that potentially is based on whether or not Gavin Newsom can prove himself. And he's not going to, and so we're going to elect someone else. We're probably going to elect a Democratic Socialist or something even further to the left, because that's where California is. We're a blue state. No, we voted for Bernie Sanders. And I love how Politico likes to pretend as though Americans don't know this. When you ask anyone, where are the leftists in this country? People are going to say New York, California, Seattle, Portland, Maine, Vermont, and even those are kind of eh. Even California is eh. But you know what? That's where we're at. We're not in Texas. We're in California. That's where the leftists are right now. And so that's why we voted for Bernie Sanders and not Joe Biden in the primary. Maybe we should be using that information to judge where this state is going. But again, Politico's job is to manufacture consent. Politico wants you to think that the problem is over here and that the problem is small, when in reality, you know that the problem is massive and Gavin Newsom isn't addressing any of it.